I'm Cindy Abbott Letro for Behind the Camera. Are you one of those people that sits at the end of a film and watches all of the different people that made that film, the names, the classifications, things like a grip and sound and a videographer? Well, this man is one of the people that gets them all together when a film is being made. This is John Scardino, and John is the rep. I'm going to get this. I'm reading it right off your card here, John. Motion Picture Studio Mechanics.
Yes.
That's sort of a broad term, but just some of the names of the different people that you represent.
There's different departments that are working behind the scenes. There's prop department. Under the prop department, there are set dressers, on-set dressers. The grip department is grip department, rigging grippers, construction grips. The electric, or the gaffer, we call the head of the electric department, has he has grips also. He has riggers. We also have wardrobe. Most of our wardrobe comes here from Buffalo, out of the local that's in Buffalo area.
You know, the reason I asked you that is filming in Buffalo has just grown astronomically. And you've been around. You and I used to serve on a commission way back.
Yes.
Well, when Jimmy Griffin was here. From your perspective, when did this all take place?
Well, the creating of the Local 52 started to get together about 1992, where 52 extended its jurisdiction. And it now covers all of New York State, where 52 only covered New York City. They cover Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Vermont, and New Jersey.
So that in order to be a member of 52, 52 is a union, and are most of the motion pictures that are being made here, are they major union operations?
In this area, they're not all union.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are freelance, independent, low budget, under $1 million. It's just lately, over the last 4 or 5 years, that more union productions have been coming here into the Buffalo area. The Turtle movie that shot here about 4 years ago, they did a second unit. They were shooting the Turtles in New York City. They sent a separate unit here, and they hired 40 of our people to work on, they shut down the 33 Expressway. We worked there for a week and a half. Henry's Crime came in after that, did a second unit here. So we did all that.
John, one of the things I remember way back when we were involved in this, that some of the film people that came in said, well, they weren't going to shoot in Buffalo because we didn't have enough trained people. That's not the case anymore, is it?
No, in the last 2 years, we've increased our numbers of qualified people. We've taken in, when Marshall came here last year, we took in 20 new members. Some of them were local stagehands, and the rest of them were independent, non-union workers that have been working here for the last 10 years. So that's the experience that came in. We also took some in this last year from the 3 productions. We took in another 20. So we're almost like 68 local area from Syracuse to Jamestown in membership, when we originally only had like 21 people.
Well, the reason I'm asking is there's been this, not just in Buffalo, but in other areas that give film incentives. The state of New York gives film incentives to companies to come and shoot throughout the state, and then Buffalo gives another 10%. There are those that say, well, it's not a good place for the government to be spending money, that it's not generating business.
Right. There is an issue right out here now from one of our senators out in Lockport who thinks that the incentive does not bring any work or any employment here. I've had discussions with him and his staff last week. Their belief is that because of most of the incentive, most of the productions go to New York City. But like I told him, if you take away the incentive for this area, the extra 10%, nobody will come here. Whether we're experienced or not, they're not going to come here if they can't get the extra incentive.
For those people that don't think that the movie business is growing, the figures that I saw 6 years ago, not even $1 million was spent throughout here. Now I understand that it's well upward of $40 million.
Yes, well, it's actually, this past year brought in over $42 million in productions with these 4 productions they shot this year.
In just 1 year.
In 1 year. And the non-union aspect of it, because there's independents that also came in here this year. The amount of work that was generated for the last 3 productions, it was Wolf Boy, Island Experience, which is Purge, and Clover. brought in millions of dollars in investment with material, hotel rooms, spending of the crew. The crew, even the local crew, we had like 65 people working, and we were covering 2 movies at the same time. Plus, we had to reach out to places like Tennessee, Chicago for extra people because we didn't have enough people to fulfill it. So it was sort of a nightmare, but it was a great nightmare to have here. I enjoyed it. It was a great experience that we had them in. Now there's 2 more possibly coming. One's coming here in April, and another one is supposed to be coming here in the fall. And there's some talk of a large one coming. So if they come and the incentive is still here, that helps generate our work here.
And have you seen that are people coming here to get these jobs, or are they relocating to this area? Because that's a whole other question about, if you build it, they will come. And it's, what could be more exciting than being involved in film?
I think one of the interesting parts when we were in between Wolf Boy and Purge together, the last 2 weeks of Wolf Boy and the first 2 weeks of Purge started, we needed more people. There's a local out of Pittsburgh that's independent film local IA who reached out to us, gave us names of people who wanted to come to Buffalo to help work, and they actually helped supplement. There were also some independents that live in Buffalo that went to New Orleans when the incentive was there. As soon as they took the incentive on New Orleans, there was no more movies there. They went to Atlanta. So there are people that will do that. They'll travel with it. But if we lose the incentive in Western New York area or the Region 3, I don't believe all those productions will come here.
Well, it's very interesting because I remember when we had different groups come in to scout. In fact, there was one that was supposed to take place at, I believe, Rich Stadium.
Yes.
And, they couldn't, if there weren't incentives, they weren't going to come here.
I know that was the one that went to Montreal. It was about a Buffalo police officer. And we got I remember Tim getting their uniforms, getting it all ready. They're going to come here to Buffalo. Montreal offered them free rooms, free this, free that. Where did they go? Montreal. They came here one night in a helicopter, flew over Buffalo, and that was the picture. And all the work was done in Montreal. So the politicians, some understand it, some don't. And I think the senator in Lockport would really think his position because he's hurting. People that live in Lockport and Niagara County worked on this construction crew. They worked almost 7 weeks. They were making $40 an hour. I mean, where are they going to make that money? And so New York gets more because it's New York City, not because of the incentive. They're going to go to New York City. But they come out here. Syracuse right now is in the midst of doing the same thing we're doing here, trying to get people to come to Central New York so they can capitalize on that incentive.
Well, it is big business. Go into any of the restaurants and try to get a reservation.
Yes.
And in fact, I know that hotel rooms, all of those things, a lot of ancillary, spending is done when a film company comes to town. The one thing I wanted to ask you about is, what would you advise, young people that say, gee, I want to be a part of that. It sounds exciting. There are 4 films here I could be working. What should they do?
They have been reaching out to us, and what we do is I'll bring them in on some productions, on the low budget productions, and we also put training classes together, and we bring them in to see if they're able. The problem keeping them here is they have enough work. If there's not enough production work here, then there's nothing for them to do here. There's just no production. You cannot be a production city. When I remember first starting this, the production cities were Los Angeles and New York City. In between were not production cities. I never thought we would get as many movies we are, that we are now in competition to be not a complete production city as New York and LA, but we're close enough that we can fill almost 80%. The Clover, we did 90% of that production was done by local people, 52 people, local 10 people, 121 people, and non-union people I put on. Whoever had the qualifications, they got into work. And when they got into work, the non-union, I offered them applications. It's only fair that they come in. So that's how that group would come in. And they would survive on freelance, low-budget stuff when there is nothing. But that's basically how we get our people back in.
Well, and I think we're ready for the next stage. Really, it is. I like how I said that, the next stage.
I think it was.
No, but it is true that you just keep getting more and more sophisticated, and if you have the demand, it makes you want to up your game.
And you get more experience.
Right.
And one of the things on the local scene when we talked about revenue, and I don't know the number, all the food is done. When people are on the movie, nobody leaves to go to lunch. They feed them there. They craft service them all day where they have food all day, and they'll have a lunch, or if they're shooting at night, they'll have a dinner and a breakfast. So, and those are local people that are making the food, and they're not people from out of town. They're all local restaurants. I remember on Marshall, we were up in one of the parks out south, north of the city, but they had a food truck there. They had food trucks on different nights on the production. So that's, again, helping the local. It's just a small part, but that's what helps bring the people here. That's how they make money.
Well, John, you've done a great job in helping grow the film industry here throughout the region. And I hope that it continues to grow. Yes. It's very exciting. I'm Cindy Abbott Letro for Behind the Camera.